record here.
من
But
برگشت.
میتونی شروع کنی.
thank you. First of all, I must appreciate everybody who joined to my Twitch. I'm Parham Hasani. Recently, I defend my master thesis in AI, and now I'm intern in CS internship in C Sharp courses, and it's my first step. At, at the end of this step, I must hold a Twitch and talk about my experience, what I learned, my challenges, and so on. Uh, and I decided to talk English because I believe that CS internship is a place for challenge ourselves. So uh, I want go on in this. Uh, CS internship is a place for learning many things, and I can separate these skills into two types: hard skill and soft skill. Hard skill are kind of uh, things that we learn from the programming and algorithm, something like this. Actually, these are technical skills. These are not hard for us to learn because all of us were in university. But the challenging part for me was soft skill and is soft skill because I had no experience in any industry or business. So since internship has a potential for learning this, for example, to be responsible to each other, how to treat each other, and be on time. These are very important skill that we cannot learn from university or our schools. So I'm very glad to have a place to learn this. I want uh, talk about study items and tasks of this step, and in each slide, I want to talk a little about all of this because I have 20 minutes, so I cannot move on details. So I talk a little about each one. Uh, Study items in this step were we had three study items. First of all, there was a book, C sharp book, which we must read two chapters. The first chapter was introduction about the C sharp. Reading introduction chapter was a little hard for me because it has a lot of details about this language, a language that I wasn't familiar with it. So it took a lot of time and was a little stressful because I think I must learn everything here, and it was a little confusing. But I passed it, and I spent a lot of time on this chapter. The second chapter was about the basics of coding. This chapter was about variables, something like this, writing a simple code. And I find that C sharp is completely familiar with C. And after searching, I find that C sharp is a has inherent of C. So it wasn't hard to study. But you know, it was 6 year which I didn't had a code on C. So first of all, I think it's confusing and a little, mm, you know, Python has simple syntax, but in C sharp you must define everything. It was a little hard for me, and I couldn't accept that. I in every pages I said, "Oh, Python is better. Python is powerful. Python is easy." But after finishing this chapter, I find that when we want to write a code and build a program, an application, which is fundamentally we need these uh, structures. So I'm okay with it. The second study item had two parts: reading a tutorial made by Microsoft, and I must run this code on my system. Most of time, reading tutorial is hard and confusing because the languages are completely different and it's not for beginner. But this tutorial wasn't like this. This tutorial was for beginner and hadn't any technical issues for me. After passing these study items, I want to talk about task which I did them. The first task was creating my GitHub account and Stack Overflow. Uh, I create my GitHub many years ago and even Stack Overflow, but I didn't use them uh, a lot of because as a student, this app GitHub and Stack Overflow creating wasn't wasn't for me. I wasn't engineer, but I had account, but suspend account. After creating this account, I had a task to follow some people on LinkedIn and Twitter, people who are active and famous on C Sharp. I search a little first. I find uh, the person who create the C Sharp head of this project. Follow, uh, followed it, followed him. After that, I follow people who were linked with that person. This task wasn't challenging. This was completely easy. Uh, After that, I must set my environment and download .NET Core and SC. You know, I'm using Ubuntu. I'm not using the Windows, so a little challenging. This was a little challenging to install .NET. .NET have different distribution, I think, and are not are a little different. So I was confusing which one I must download it and how must I install it. And I was wondering myself which ID is better. The, the challenge of this task was like this. And I must create a console app. Uh, I couldn't find the run key. I didn't know I must run it my program on terminal. So I spent several years, actually several years, to run my application. And this task was completely challenging. To gaining different batches was uh, nightmare for me. Autobiography and informed badges are completely easy. You can feel uh, and you can feel your name and put it. These are not especially sick. But a scholar badge was completely nightmare for me because I write some question, somebody n- n- navigate vote, I get navigate voted, I delete the question, and it was hard to find a reliable question. And at the end, with my friend, I solved this and gained this badge. Okay, and everybody here must join to typing club and learn how to type with 10 finger and be accurate and fast. First, it was not important issue for me, but after attending a competition, especially with Behzad, find that I'm not good in typing, and I will work on typing a little better. And I decided to spend more time on typing club. Exorcism. Exorcism was hell. First, I didn't know that there are two different accounts for exorcism. First is learning, and second is for exercise. Uh, in the learning mode, you must pass all the exercises. For example, to solve the RNA, I must finish 20, something like this, 20 exercises. But uh, in a meeting, I find that I was completely wrong. I can change my account mode to uh, exercise mode and select the exercise and solve them. But it wasn't end. It wasn't end because uh, exorcism want the exact r- result, the exact output, and I must try different output, and I didn't realize what it want, you know, especially for RNA. I couldn't realize what it want. So after joining to community of this site, I learn many things from each other and scan others' code and find that with simple mistake, I cannot get the results. Uh, there is another task, a task which is related to algorithm, the bubble sort. It's a fundamental algorithm. The algorithm itself wasn't hard for me because uh, most of us know it, but writing this algorithm and in C sharp especially and get the result spent 2 days of me, and I feel shame. Why I cannot solve this? Why I cannot run this program? It's easy, but with the patience, I solve it. Uh, another, I think it's the last task which we must hold a Twitch. But the key here is we must uh, ask our mentor exactly 7 days before. And I think it's one of the softest skills that we are learning to be responsible to time, our time, other time. And as a person who is far from university, sometimes I lost the day. I cannot. Sometimes I forget it's Thursday, it's Wednesday, it's like this. But here I learn I must use more my calendar, and uh, I think it's a part of my soft skill. Okay, here I have my contact, my links on different media, and at the end, I must say thank you, all of you CSers, and I must appreciate especially Hediye Sazavaran, who was very helpful, my assistant, mentor. Thank you.